The San Francisco 49ers are in must-win territory in Week 5. But through 5 weeks, what's your biggest concern about the San Francisco 49ers? Brian Peacock and I will talk about that right now. Welcome, everybody. Let's go Niners. My name is Jason Aponte. I'm Jason Aponte. That's Brian Peacock. This is Peacock and Aponte. And depending on who you ask, the Picante Show. What's up, Brian? What's going on, man?
Oh, just little condensed week here, trying to get everything done before Thursday that usually you have until Sunday to get ready. So I guess that means we get a mini bye after this, right?
Yeah, we do. And everybody talks about the short week for players, but nobody ever talks about the short week for content creators. I mean, I literally was up until around 2 or 3 in the morning, getting my article ready for the morning. Like, none of that stuff has to happen without me having to cram in a whole week's worth of preparation for a Thursday game. NFL, you're not thinking of us at all.
And what about having time to get through protocol after the damage that is done to our minds over the course of an NFL weekend, right? So it's tough, and Fred Warner's got the ankle. I've got some things going on, trying to get myself right for Thursday, because right now I'm questionable, Jason.
Right. I mean, well, you know what? If we learned anything from this weekend of football is this: even if you're concussed, knocked out, some smelling salt, get you right back up, get out there, rub some dirt on it, and get out there. I mean, obviously, that's the way that you do it. But speaking of injuries, before we get into everything, there are some injuries that we need to discuss. Obviously, George Kittle, Fred Warner, good to go. No questions asked. That's a good thing, right?
That's a phenomenal thing. And look, he wasn't running around at 100%, but I'll take 80% Fred Warner over just about anybody in the league at linebacker.
Now, if we're talking about injuries, and everyone seems to be the 49ers are the only team that happen to be snake bit by this, I implore you to look around the league, particularly at the Seattle Seahawks, who will be without their starting edge rusher Nwosu on the IR. Reek Woolen out for this game. Boye Mafe may play. This injury report is piling up. The Seattle Seahawks are dropping like flies, and it seems like it's happening across the league. Advantageous situation for the San Francisco 49ers, wouldn't you say, especially on offense?
It's hugely advantageous. Their 4 best pass rushers are all either out or questionable, and I'm kind of glad we don't get to see their first-round pick in Byron Murphy. I think he's going to be a stud in this league, and he's already confirmed to be out. Nwosu's out, and then you got Mafe and Hall that I believe are banged up and have missed some games and might not be able to go either. And without it's twofold too. So if your best pass rushers and 4 of your 5 best linemen are out, or front 7 guys are out because they do this sort of the off ball, 3-4 kind of odd front thing, means you can run the ball like the New York Giants. It's not like the Seahawks team is a juggernaut team and has so much talent that they can just give away 4 defensive linemen before they play a team like the 49ers. And the New York Giants are a team that beat them last week. And really the only good team that the Seattle Seahawks have played this year is the Detroit Lions. And they lost that game. So when it comes to the Seahawks, that's your huge advantage for the Seahawks, is they haven't seen a team as good as the 49ers, except for the Lions, and they lost that game. And they're without everything they need up front to try to thwart one of the best offenses in the NFL. And the big calling card for the Seahawks this year is Mike Macdonald comes from the Ravens, and the Ravens did a number on the 49ers, and probably Brock Purdy's worst game was playing against that Ravens defense last year. So they bring in the defensive coordinator as their head coach. But guess what? You don't have all the bullets that the Ravens had to throw at the San Francisco 49ers offense. So if the Niners can't just set the tone by running the football, and if Brock Purdy doesn't have time to throw the football in this game, I will be absolutely shocked. And then we've got to have bigger conversations during that mini bye week.
I'm so glad you brought up the Mike Macdonald thing, because everyone's just like, oh, Mike Macdonald was the Ravens defensive coordinator. Cool. Is he bringing over Kyle Hamilton and Patrick Queen and all those guys with him? Because that's fine if you think that you want to scheme something up. If you don't have the dogs to execute it, and you certainly don't right now, even if I didn't think you did when you were fully healthy, I'm not necessarily as worried about that. And your defense looks exponentially worse when you don't get to face Jacoby Brissett, Bo Nix. Daniel Jones and Tyrone Tracy did a number on them this past week.
Dude,
But it's crazy.
I'm so mad about the Tyrone Tracy thing too, because
Yeah.
uh, one of my watch list guys was like, "Oh, this is going to be my fantasy sleeper," and then it was like, "I'm not going to draft him because it's he's a little banged up to start the year, and I'm going to pick him up off the waiver wire." So like week 2, I have Christian McCaffrey's of the world and other players that are injured. So I need running backs. I'm like, I'm going to pick up Tyrone Tracy. Maybe this is the week he's going to get worked in. He's not really getting worked in. So then I have to drop him again because I got to find someone who can give me some points at running back in my fantasy league. And then all of a sudden he goes off and now he's unavailable and I can't go get him on the waiver wire because I'm, 3-1 or 3-4-1 or 3-2, whatever my record is. Was not good enough to go get Tyrone Tracy off the waiver wire. I had the knowledge to have him on my team, yet he is not on my team. That bothers me, Jason. I don't like that. You do the work and you're like, this is my guy, can catch the ball in the backfield, one of my sleeper running backs. You have the information and you're not able to utilize the information. It's like going into the fourth quarter with a 2-score lead and losing the game.
Guys, and you asked me about the Vikings. The Vikings are healthy on defense. They've got every single one of their starters. The Seattle Seahawks, even when they had their starters, weren't going to be a problem. Now they're down to their set. That's not the same thing at all.
No.
And Brian Flores is the defensive coordinator. Mike McDonald's the head coach. He's not locked in on the deep. That's apples to oranges. That is not the same argument, guys. I'm sorry.
I will say, though, that the Vikings lost their best defensive lineman in free agency, right? And Danielle Hunter. So he is gone, and they're getting Hunter-like production from Ivan Pace. They're getting big-time production from players on that team that really aren't household names. So there is something to scheme. And that's one thing. If you're Mike McDonald now and you're playing against the 49ers, you're like, well, okay, we're not going to just go out there and get natural pressure sending 4. So there's going to be some games. There's going to be some blitzes. There's going to be some probably pretty exotic stuff that he tries to throw at the 49ers. And there was some exotic stuff that Brian Flores has thrown at the 49ers. And right now, like this is a league where if you see that a team can beat you doing something, you're going to see it. So that's what we're going to see. We're going to see 6-man rushes. We're going to see them mugged up in the A gap and then drop back into coverage and try to confuse the 49ers, make the pre-snap read wrong. That's what we're going to see from every single team that plays against the San Francisco 49ers this year, because Brock Purdy is really good. And one of my listeners this week, I think his name is Frankie on Locked On 49ers, and he hit me up on Twitter, and he's like, man, Brock Purdy's having problems against the blitz. And my response was, and I feel bad for Frankie, everyone piled on him. I was like, well, Brock Purdy's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL against the blitz. But it's the style of blitz that he's seeing right now is a little bit different, because Brock Purdy knows where the answer is. He's going to find it. He's quick. But right now, they're muddying the picture for Brock Purdy, and they're bringing different guys, and they might even bring 4, but the pressure and the look pre-snap is different. And then you have the 49ers on top of it, which, if we're getting into concerns, and I know you wrote about this at Niners Nation, is the protection not so much getting beat one-on-one in protections, but where on your list, Jason, is the protection busts? We saw it in the Super Bowl. We saw it in the very last play of the game where Brock Purdy throws an interception. You got 6 guys to block 6 guys. Why is one guy running free? And you can't blame Jordan Mason, because he took the most dangerous man and he put up the block he was supposed to put out there. You still have a guy running free at your quarterback and getting hit and ends up throwing an interception. That's not on Brock Purdy. That's on the protection calls. So can we just put that in Brock Purdy's hands too? If we're going to pay him $50 or $60 million, let's have him call the protections, because there's too many protection busts from what I'm seeing. And it's carried over from the Super Bowl to this year. It's something that can't be happening to the 49ers.
Yeah, Brian Peacock, master of segues. So yeah, this is how we're going to turn this into this. This whole episode is about what are your biggest concerns for the San Francisco 49ers. And I wrote an article today, which is a survey, comes out every single week. You guys should check it out on NinersNation.com. And protection busts are not on this list. And I think the reason that it's not on the list is because protection busts have been something that have been a constant. I think what this article was highlighting is through 5 weeks, what have been the bigger issues. Yes, they come at the wrong times and everything, but I would argue run defense, preparation, pass defense, special teams, coaching, those have been the concerns through 5 weeks that are a little bit more than protection bust. So they didn't make the list. We had to pick 5, and we narrowed it down to those 5, and protection didn't make it.
Remember when it was kind of hard? We're like, we only have like 2 or 3, but we got to make 5. And now it's like, there's too many to fit on our list of 5.
Mm-hmm.
make it a list of 10 if the 49ers keep playing this way and giving away games that they're supposed to win. Is closing out games one of them on your list there, Jason?
That I think we can put that in the coaching.
Okay.
We can put that in the coaching, and we can put that into
the protection
pass defense
too, because either you have the wrong players on the field that can't figure it out, or you're not coaching it so the players can figure it out and get things called the right way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, again, that all goes into coaching, right? Like, and everything. And everyone's talking about effort, all those things. But, all right, let's start with run defense. So, run defense, obviously, everyone's not happy right now with it. But the numbers per game, yardage-wise, have the 49ers in the top 10, actually, in run defense. Last season, they were 5th. For all of the talk last year, 98.7 yards per game. This year, they're 9th, 110.8 yards per game. They did allow 169 yards on 29 attempts at 6.5 per carry. For those that like math at home, the last 3, they've allowed 113.3, but 50 yards of that comes on a Kyler Murray run. And for large parts early on in this game, the 49ers run defense locked up. The problem is, Brian, is in the big moments when everyone knows you're about to get the football run against you, you can't stop the run by either missed tackles or just being in the wrong spot. That is the more concerning part. It's not that the 49ers have been terrible per game 4 quarters, just not being able to stop the run. It's in the critical moments when you know they're going to run the football, you know you need to stop, and you still can't. That's the frustrating part.
Yeah, it's the closing out games part. It's like, man, we just need to convert this 3rd down and ice the game. Can't do it. We just need to put the ball in the end zone and get 6 and not 3. Can't do it. We just need to stop this run right now. Get off the field. We're going to ice the game. And they can't do it. It's kind of blown my mind because you see the Rams game and the Cardinals game. And those are the two, like the 49ers are literally 2 plays away from being 4-1. So we can't be alarmist about all this. And it's, you know, and the 49ers are a garbage football team. They've given away 2 games that they should have won. And if it's not that different of a football team, if they make 2 more plays and they're 4-1 now. By the way, who's better at blowing games, the Niners or the Yankees right now?
I don't know. The Yankees are up 1-0 with the bases loaded in the top of the
5th. If Aponte bursts out into any sort of foul language,
Juan Soto up with the bases loaded and 1 out in the top of the 5th, 1-0. We're about to get an LFG if it goes crazy, but I would say probably the 49ers are better at it. Kyle Shanahan, unfortunately, that number's been floated out there as the 49ers coach. Kyle Shanahan has lost 18 games when he's had a 10-point plus lead as the 49ers coach. That is disgusting.
It's pretty insane. There's a big enough sample now over multiple years, different quarterbacks, different teams, that you have to start putting some of it, if not all of it, on Kyle Shanahan of losing those leads, especially in big games. I mean, he's done it 3 times in the Super Bowl. That's kind of crazy. I don't know if anybody's ever done that.
Right. And then just concerning the run defense itself, I think there's times where you look and you know, early in this game, you know, obviously you have the 50-yard run to start the game with Kyler Murray, but watching it back, it literally was there, like them slowing down Connor. Connor couldn't do anything. You really had that team on the ropes. And then it got down to just being winded at the end of the game. Fine, the heat, but, you know, Arizona has to play in the heat as well, too. There's no excuse for professionals.
That's what I'm saying.
At the end of the
Jordan Mason's
at the end of the game, it's just like, damn. Right. At the end of the game, it's just like, damn, like, you know they're about to run the football, and you got arm tackles, everybody's running through them, and it's just the missed tackles thing is part technique and part effort. And then that goes back to what we're talking about with coaching.
I think the biggest thing for me, too, is that you're dominating these teams, dominating these games, and not only do the Rams and Cardinals, who you should have beaten, who you should have walked away from in the second half, you let them stick around, and then they end up coming back and beating you in the second half. But it's not like Matt Stafford's just throwing dimes all over the place. Boom, boom. We can't stop Matthew Stafford. We can't stop Cooper Kupp, right? It's not Kyler Murray to Marvin Harrison Jr. We have no answer. This guy's too good, and we can't stop him. These teams are running the ball to get back in the game from 2-score deficits. Like, when does that happen in the NFL? It was like, oh, we got to come back. We're going to run the ball more effectively now in the second half to come back in the game. It's just so odd the way the 49ers have lost those 2 games.
Yeah. So run defense has something to do with it, right? when everyone in the building knows you're about to run the football and you still have a tough time with it, I have a huge issue with that, right? I mean, the numbers itself, yards per game, they don't look crazy. You're still in the top 10. And for as much as we talked about this run defense last year, they were fifth in the NFL. But it just feels like in the critical moments when you need to get a stop with the run defense, it gets to that spot. Let's pivot a little bit more.
Hold
Let's
on,
pivot a little.
Jason.
Go ahead.
I know you're running the show right now, and I don't want to interrupt you.
You got it?
Can we put Axel, his comment on the screen? Because I never thought about this. I asked the question about who does that, blowing leads and losing games. And he said the answer is Dave Roberts. If we're talking
Axel's
about
a big Angels fan too.
winning the regular season and then losing the big game, the COVID season, do we count that hardware? I don't know.
Nope.
That's not too bad. The comp between Dave Roberts and Kyle Shanahan, maybe.
I'll tell you this. The Dodgers won the World Series in 2020, and we don't count that. That's a Mickey Mouse ring. But if the New York Yankees would have won that 2020 ring, I would have been rubbing it in everybody's faces. And I would not. I'm sorry. I'm unapologetic because I know how mad it would make everybody. Oh, Mickey Mouse ring. You know what? Nope. Number 28. It's in. Like we're taking it, and I'm gonna lean all the way into it. But yeah, they didn't win a real ring.
Is there like a mantra with the Yankees like there's for the 49ers, quest for 6, like the quest for 28? Doesn't quite have the same ring to it.
No, it's such elitist nonsense. I love the Yankees, but God, I understand why everybody hates it. Come see greatness, the 27th time, New York. I'm just like, God, no wonder everyone hates us. Shut up, man. We haven't won since 2009.
You're over there. You're on that side of the world. Like,
I love the Yankees. Come on, but it's terrible.
What's the temperature right now with the Jets and the solidifiering?
Woo! Like I said on the show yesterday with Bully Ball with Steph. New York fans are a special kind of special. And they're like, yeah, Salah's got to go. Sure, he was the asshole who threw the pick 6 and threw all those terrible interceptions. He's got to go, man. You got to get him out of there. Possibly, perhaps, that drug-taking quarterback is washed, and he's the reason that your team is not good. Just a thought.
Yeah, could be. Just throw that out there.
Just throw it out there. Yeah, they're happy. It's about time we got Salah out of there. I'm like, yeah, cool. I was like, you scored the same amount of points that you did with Zach Wilson as quarterback, but yeah, it's totally Robert Saleh's fault. Absolutely.
The timing's insane. Like, could these organizations, Raiders, Jets, can you just figure your business out? And then we could have done some things in the offseason. Robert Saleh or Jeff Ulbrich could have been the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. You could have done a swap of Ayuk, send him to Pittsburgh and bring Devontae Adams in. And then 2 weeks into the season, you're like, oh no, we're going to change everything. Where were you a month ago? Where were you 6 months ago? Figure out your organization teams because you're just bringing the entire league down at this point.
What I find funny, and we got to pivot back to the 49ers because it's not us just making fun of the Jets. The Jets never get rid of anybody in the middle of the season. They let Adam Gase stick around for year after year. Like, literally, I've been on this coast where I've watched the Jets be absolutely dog shit, and they never do it. But now, after a London game in which Aaron Rodgers looks awful, throws 3 interceptions, one of them for a pick 6, now's the time that you need to make a move, and it's all Robert Saleh's fault. It's not Nathaniel Hackett's fault. It's not the fact that Aaron Rodgers is cooked. It was like Nathaniel Hackett should be working at Walmart. What are we doing here, man? Like, it's just maybe Robert Saleh is not a good head coach. It's fairly possible that that's true.
Yes.
But to sit here and say that after you got Aaron Rodgers and you have Garrett Wilson and you have Breece Hall and this offense looks this way, it's his fault? Okay, man, you got it. Y'all got it.
Yep. Look, and the Niners have been through some weird stuff. So when anybody says, oh, you got to fire Kyle Shanahan, it's like, okay. Let's calm down on that because who you gonna go? You're gonna go hire Nathaniel Hackett to run your football team? Like, who's out there that's better than Kyle Shanahan? And you hope that Kyle Shanahan can. Oh man, how cool would that have been though if Bill Belichick was like, yeah, I'll come be defensive coordinator for a year.
The press conferences couldn't have been more monotone at that point. I mean, just like the only glimpses of energy that we get, in these press conferences is when Chris Forrester takes the mic. Everyone else is just like, it literally looks like they literally hate coaching. They hate coaching. It's the worst thing that they've ever had to do. Chris Forrester looks happy going into the office every single day. And I pray that I ever find a job that makes me feel that happy every single day, regardless of the results.
I love Chris Forrester. Like one of the few like install videos I could actually watch in the off season. Watching an offensive line install video. It's not something I'd ever thought I would want to do, but I enjoyed watching Chris Furster installs some offensive line principles, and you learn a lot in those types of things. And anyway, so look, and you can get better. Like you can't close the book on Kyle Shanahan. Say, can't ever win the big one. He's always going to blow it. You can learn. Kyle Shanahan himself says if you're either getting better or you're getting worse. So Kyle Shanahan, keep doing what you're doing. That's good. You're one of the best in the league, and keep getting better and keep, sanding off those rough edges. And for Nick Sorensen, a few games into his career, it's not time to bury him yet. They can get better. We saw Saleh get better as a defensive coordinator. We saw D'Amico Ryans get better as a defensive coordinator. And so give him some time. Let's see what this team is. It's just tough to think that they're going to turn things around and fix everything we're talking about here in 2 days to get ready for the biggest game of the season against their division rival, because you can't start getting this far behind the Seahawks and start losing all the tiebreakers in the NFC and in the division this early in the season.
See, I think now we should just pivot this part to coaching now, because that's kind of where I'm at, right? And I think that if there was ever a team that is primed to fix themselves out of a hole like this, it's the 49ers. If there's ever a team that can play the role of wounded animal, almost like when you think you got them, right? Like when you think you just got them down, and then it looks like a game where it's in Seattle and, you could be 0-3 back against the wall. Like perhaps the fact that this game happened so quickly was a godsend for the 49ers, because they can get right back in and go for it. And if there was ever a team that I believe that can not shock the world, because it's still week 6 or whatever it is, but like almost the wounded animal in the corner, you're ready to count them out, and then they go out there and blow the doors off Seattle. I would not be shocked at that at all.
Yeah, just do what they did to the Jets in week 1. It was like primetime game. Oh, right. This is a talented team with superstars all over the place, and they play a good game and put it together. It's like, oh, yeah, that's right. That's what this team can be and should be.
Right. So that goes back to coaching. And I think it's important that I articulate this in the best way. Yes, the 49ers have been in spots where their records have been crazy and they've looked bad and they've had some horrible losses, a la losing to Colt McCoy and getting boat raced by Arizona, feeling like it's over, and then all of a sudden they go on a run. Sure, history is cool for the 49ers because they have done it. I would argue, though, that I'm not relying solely on history because of the strength of the schedule that's ahead of you. Because you can get this game done, you get a little mini bye week, then who comes in? Kansas City, then Dallas. You get your bye week, Tampa Bay, Green Bay, Buffalo. You're like, this is not the fact that the 49ers kind of fucked around early on in this early schedule, like with the way that they have when they've kicked away these games, has put them in a spot where you've got to like not only win these games, but you've got to do them against quality opponents in different places. That's what feels a little bit different about this game, and why in this season, why this game feels so large.
No doubt. And the 49ers are good enough to turn it around. And, it was just that you get in the type of hole that makes it that much more difficult. And when you and I looked at the schedule on this very show before the season started, we're like circling games, circling weeks. And we're like, okay, well, they need to bank some wins here, week 1 through 5. And those are winnable games. They need to bank some wins there, because this is a really tough stretch here in 6, 7, and 8. And then you got a bye week and then a couple more, this is where it gets difficult coming up. So you already passed the easy part and you're 2-3 and you're giving away games. And so that's what makes this difficult. And if they lose this game to the Seahawks, and look, this is on the road on a Thursday night, teams lose those games a lot. So you should be less mad that the 49ers lose on Thursday night on the road and lose to the Chiefs than you were losing in against the Rams or against the Cardinals, right? And so this team could legitimately be 2-6. And if you're sitting there and you lose to the Seahawks and you're 0 for the conference and 0 for the division, it would have to be an incredible run, like turn around and just win every game the rest of the way to win that division, or to get the tiebreakers to win a tiebreak for forget the 1 seed, just for the division or for a wild card spot. Like the 49ers are going to have to outright win a lot of these playoff spots, because if they're in a tie, they're very, very likely to be losing those tiebreakers if they drop any more NFC games, and especially if they lose another game inside the division, especially the team that is going to have potentially head-to-head against them as well.
Yeah, again, this is the coaching portion of it. We've already touched on run defense. This is the coaching portion. I've got faith in the track record that Kyle Shanahan has built. I have faith in the fact that this team has won a ton of games under Kyle Shanahan. I have faith that this team has weathered storms. Have they weathered storms with better circumstances and schedules in front of them? Sure. But if there's any team that I could believe to do it, it would be them. The 49ers still haven't played their full game yet. They still haven't got into a place where they've been fully perfect on certain spots. They don't even need to be perfect on red zone offense, and that's where we can go after this. They can just go to league average, and we might be able to just see some growth there. But if I had to bank on a culture, if I had to bank on a coaching staff, if I had to bank on a team that's been there to do it, then it's them. But banking on something that's happened before doesn't make it a certainty. And the circumstances and the context and the strength of schedule that's in front of you makes this feel a little bit different than it has in years past.
Hey, and the Niners are still favored, even though it's on the road on a Thursday night.
And still favored to win the NFC somehow.
And they'll be favored in a lot of those games we're talking about. Probably not the Chiefs, but they'll be favored in a lot of the other games. They'll be favored against the Cowboys, and they might win. They might lose the next two games, still be favored against the Cowboys in week 7, 8, whenever that is. Yeah, week 8. And so the 49ers can absolutely turn this thing around, but it's just they're making the degree of difficulty a little bit more difficult. Do you think, real quick, that that Nick Bosa saying like this is kind of a must win? Do you think it's a good mindset right now for the 49ers to have, or do you think it's like they're almost putting too much pressure on a week 6 game?
No, it's absolutely. You can't go 0-3 into the West.
Can you keep that vibe up the rest of the year? Can it be like must wins the rest of the way, or is this just must win because it's get right? Then you're like, all right, cool, we're back on track.
I don't know if it's all that, but I think, again, when we talked about the most critical 4-game stretch, we were almost thinking like, hey, that first game against the Cardinals needs to be a win, and I think we're going to get that, and then you can springboard into the rest of it. Now it's like sink or swim. And that's what I'm saying about wounded animal. Like the 49ers might be better in a spot where they're the wounded animal. Like when everyone thinks this is the time, like they're ripe for the picking. Maybe they need their back against the wall a little bit more, right? Like I like the idea that he's saying that because you can't just keep being arrogant about like, here's the one quote I despised. I think Diamador Lenore has been the best corner secondary member in this team. No questions asked.
Yeah.
They got lucky, or a trash can gets a steak here. No. You went out there, you laid an egg. When you had a chance, your defense was on the field. You're part of the defense. When you were on the field, you had a chance to end that game. You didn't. None of that lucky shit. I don't want to hear that. I'd rather hear the desperation. Say that.
I kind of like what Diamador Lenore said, but he kind of contradicted himself too, because the first part of his quote was like saying the opposite of then saying, congratulations, you looked out and got one. So, but I think what he's saying is, okay, it's just like you took their shot. It's like, all right, we took one in the face. Guess what? We're not knocked out. So it was you know what it was? I think I got this. To me, it was more like this.
Hey man, we'll catch you on Sunday.
Do you remember that? Devo Samuel? It was kind of like, all right. So good. Congratulations. You won the last one. We'll see you again. So that's kind of the vibe I took from what Diamador Lenore said. But the fact that he used the word luck in there, I can see why you feel.
I don't like that. I don't like that. All right. So that's a good place to go. Pass defense. Talanoa Hufanga on IR. Malik Mustafa, for better or worse, it's you and Jair Brown. God damn it. Catch the ball. No. All right. 2-2 game here. But like Malik Mustafa didn't allow a catch on Sunday. 3 targets, 0, missed 2 tackles. Okay. Hufanga, when he was in the game, just constantly out of position. I don't understand, like, why is it that you just find yourself in the middle of the line and Kyler Murray's running past you? Charvarius Ward said he's playing the worst ball of his career to Mike Silver. I don't think anybody would disagree with that.
I think he might be hurt too. He's not moving.
He is hurt. He's very hurt. He's very hurt. I agree with that too. But he's also playing 13, 14 yards away from his opponent, and they're just running 9-yard out routes, and they're banging it on him, and he's giving up the points, right?
Yeah, because he knows that he can't turn and run like he wants to, and so then it just starts to compound on itself.
Isaac Yiadom gives up 1 catch on Sunday, and it happens to be the 4th down prayer moon ball. Could he have played it better? Fine. Yeah, but they call 0 blitz. They almost get there. The ball gets out there. Marvin Harrison kind of felt like that's the game, right? Like that one on the 4th down.
I don't want to crush Isaac Yiadom's taken a lot of arrows this year.
Yeah,
and
I didn't think he was bad on Sunday.
No, he was good, and so I think some of it's unwarranted. He was 1-on-1 early in the game with Marvin Harrison Jr. and was step for step with them. broke up the play, and it forced the next play, which ended up being the blocked punt or the blocked field goal, right after that. So he forced the fourth down. And he finally gives up a play, and that's just more on Kyler making a play, the Niners blitz not getting home, and allowing him to be able to throw to a place where there was no coverage. Like you're playing the certain type of coverage, knowing
you're hoping your guy just runs under it
because it's zero blitz, so you can't. Yeah, so Kyler throws it to the spot that's over there, that's away from where the coverage is, and then they make a play. So I don't kill Isaac Yiadom for that. And at the same time, like I think Yiadom and Campbell, they're the weaker linebacker, and they're the number 3 corner. So in nickel, who's going to get targeted? If you're the offensive coordinator on the other team, who are you going to target? You're going to target Campbell, and you're going to target Yiadom. So they're just going to get more balls thrown their way. And so it's going to look worse than it is, I think, in a lot of ways. But then you got to make plays too when the other team is calling your number. And that's what we saw with Demo a few years ago. Remember when he was the young guy and he was the unproven guy, and teams started throwing at him and he got bombed on a little bit. And then he's like, oh, you know what? Okay, keep throwing at me. And that's why I like his attitude. Okay, good job. You got one. Keep throwing at me. And then he started making plays. And then he started picking the ball off. And then now he's the best player in the 49ers secondary.
Keith Murphy, the unbeaten. Just remember this, Brian, the unbeaten. And it's 300-0. God, is that Patrick Mahomes celebrating with the Kansas City Royals? I'm going to puke. It feels like we put everything into last year and there's nothing left in the tank. It hasn't been the same since Greenlaw popped that Achilles. I think that's a fair assessment. It feels like, God, get him off my screen. Get her off my screen right now. I just whatever. I'm sorry.
Did I tell you, Aponte, that I'm a Royals fan?
Yeah, I guess that means you support Patrick Mahomes. You heard it here first. Brian Peacock supporting Patrick Mahomes.
Hey, I'm big with the Mahomes family because I saw Pat Mahomes Sr. play single A baseball when I was a wee lad for the Visalia Oaks before he was the phenom. He didn't spend long because he had an electric arm, and he was a hotshot young player going through the minor leagues on his way to the Minnesota Twins back in the day. When the Visalia Oaks, the town I grew up in, single A affiliate of the Minnesota Twins. So I saw Pat Mahomes Sr. play baseball when I was like a wee lad. One of my first professional baseball games I ever saw. My first T-ball game, or my first T-ball team, was the Royals. So I've always been kind of like, I'm a San Francisco Giants fan, but I always rooted for the Kansas City Royals on the AL side, just because that was my first team I ever played on.
This is going to be such a terrible joke. Streets is saying that Pat Mahomes is about to be the closer for the Kansas City Penal League, but hey, that's another joke for another day.
He needs to call an Uber once in a while.
He won't be calling any Ubers where he's going. Anyway, but back to what we're beyond the pass defense. Look, the pass defense needs to be talked about because this is going to be their biggest test. Right now, you're coming off a game in which the Seattle Seahawks ran the ball 5 times with Kenneth Walker. And Geno Smith leads the league in passing. Jackson Smith and Jigba, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, even Noah Fant. This is the wrong matchup for the 49ers pass defense, particularly in the secondary, to stumble, because they will throw it over your head. Geno's playing probably the best football of his career. They are committed to throwing the football easy. This is a kind of like put up or shut up. Star players do star things. If Charvarius is hurt, I feel for him. But if you're out there, you've got to step it up. And I think both things can be true.
And Ryan Grubb, coming from Washington, and they've obviously thrown the ball a lot in Seattle. It's a different team. Like, this is the first time we're going to see this new iteration of the Seattle Seahawks. They're going to go 3 wide a lot. They throw the ball a lot. I actually like the nickel matchup of Demo and Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think that's going to be a fun one to watch. But the Niners have done a good job. It really frustrated DK Metcalf in the past, but an injured Charvarius Ward, Isaac Yiadom on the other side, or the rookie if Green plays more, which was weird last week because Green got a bunch of snaps the week before, but then he disappeared and wasn't in the lineup.
I have a theory.
What's the theory?
All right, the theory is let's run Renardo Green against the Patriots because we know that we can't get beat by their personnel, and let's get him some reps. Now the Arizona Cardinals come in and present a different strategy and different personnel, and it's like, we can't mess around with you today, youngster. We gotta get our guys that we trust out there.
So we're gonna see more Yiadom again in this matchup.
Yes, I would bet on that. I would definitely bet on that.
You got to stay over the top. So the safeties, like we've talked about, the safeties, the young safeties. Not the fastest guys in the world. I do like both Jair Brown and Malik Mustafa but you got to stay over the top. So we can't get beat by DK Metcalf. And then Nick Bosa needs to wreck their whatever third string, fourth string right tackle that they're on now. And I think it's Stone Forsythe is the starter. They signed. They're so bad at right tackle. They signed Jason Peters off the street.
Yeah,
2 years old.
Jason Peters is 68 years old, and they said, you know what, let's bring him in.
So Trent Williams is not young, right? Trent Williams was like in junior high when Jason Peters was a rookie in the NFL.
Yeah. I don't want to talk too much about injuries and about advantages because we've done that week after week. Oh, this team is so banged up. Look at what. No. You got to go out there and you got to execute. And if you think Seattle's going to sit there and allow their guys who are having issues in pass pro just stay out there and just, leave them in bad situations, then you're probably mistaken. So again, it boils down to pass defense is tied to pass rush, right? This has got to be a Nick Bosa, Leonard Floyd game. Malik Collins has got to step up here in the middle as well too. This has to be a game where you disrupt because Geno Smith has looked so comfortable throwing the football. Geno Smith has looked so good this entire year. Not necessarily against the New York Giants. For whatever reason, they just, they couldn't keep up with them. But this has to be, again, defensive line, and that's all tied to the pass defense at this point. We went into the season thinking that the secondary was going to help the pass rush, and it just hasn't happened yet. And I think one hand washes the other, both hands wash the face. It has to be the pass rush this week that really has to stay on Geno Smith and help the secondary out, especially if Mooney is messed up. And Keith Murphy again. I want to say Keith Murray so bad because of like Def Squad and Eric Sermon and everything, but it's Keith Murphy. How do we get our swag back?
Those other Keiths and those other Murphys, they're not unbeaten like Keith Murphy.
He's the only one that's unbeaten.
300-0. Yep.
300-0. How do we get our swag back? Brian, I'll let you take this one first.
First, you got to let my guy Eric Crocker dress everybody, so he gets to decide what face mask you're wearing, what helmet you're wearing. My co-host of Locked On 49ers, he's the Dr. Drip, and he cares a lot about that stuff, about how you look and you play, how you look good, play good. Getting the swag back, I think someone needs to make a play, right? I think it's Debo. I'm going to say Debo needs to break one. Debo needs to do the vintage Debo where it doesn't matter if he's wide back, catches a slant, whatever it is, and he just houses one and he takes it through the entire defense. And you just get that feeling like, okay, this is our team. We're here. We're bigger than you. We're better than you. We're 1990 Mike Tyson, and we're headhunting, and we're just about to knock you out. I think that's how you get the swag back. And everybody reminds themselves, oh, that's right. Short week. We go to the division rival. Guess what? Back tied for the division lead. This is our division. And then you have your swag back. So I'm going to point to Debo Samuel. That's who needs to have the biggest game this week.
Damn it. You stole my bold prediction. I think this is a big Debo game. This is a big Debo game. Whatever his prop is over under receiving, this is a big Debo game. And I think it'll be a little bit of just like seeing him, bulldoze people, get back. I think the way that Brian Baldinger described this team, and I don't disagree, through 5 weeks, he said in one word, slow.
They do look slow. We've talked about this in the offseason before the season even started. Like it's not the fastest team. But they're a bully, and you can be not fast if you're physically stronger and mentally stronger than your opponents. This team has no yak. How's that possible?
Right.
This is the yak team in the NFL. This is the premier yards after catch offense in the league. How could there be such a lack of yak, a lack of play action? It's just not the same team. Something's very strange, man.
Yeah, and possibly that changes. And obviously you think, man, this team was gassed. It was raining. It was raining. It was super hot. They got to go to Seattle now and play on it. But again, like, I just have a feeling like when everybody starts to feel like it's impossible for them to get back to that, this just feels like a game where everybody's waiting to, like, all the things that have gone wrong, the little things that could have led, because if Purdy hits Kittle on that last play that ends up in an interception, Kittle's still running most likely, like right now, all those little things that just have kind of been escaping the 49ers are going to come into focus, and you're going to see it come back. It feels like the 49ers are in a perfect spot right now where everyone's saying, man, they're slow, man, they're cooked. And this feels like the game where they're going to break out and bust out of everything and execute to the level that they're supposed to.
The NFL's chaos. You probably win a lot of money if you just
Coaching.
bet against whatever the most recent trend is. If a
Right.
team looked bad one week, bet
Right.
on them being better the next week.
Arizona and Washington. I heard that all week. Oh, well, they just got boat raced by Washington. I was like, I guarantee you Arizona comes in here and they're going to be sticking around and being annoying.
Super annoying.
Yeah. So we've done pass defense, run defense, we've done coaching. Let's get to it. This is the biggest issue with the 49ers. And I don't want to hear anything about the kicker being hurt. Sure, you probably lost the game because you couldn't kick field goals, but it doesn't mask the problem. You know, you can win a game and that mask, winning is the best deodorant. But the 49ers have gone from number 1 in touchdown scoring red zone efficiency, 68%, to 29th in the NFL, 40.9%. I know we're missing Christian McCaffrey, but please do not tell me that this team can be this inept in the red zone. And you still have Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, even Jordan Mason. Who's George Mason? Jordan Mason. And still put up this output. You know how many teams would kill to have one of those guys, let alone all of those guys as your weapons? There's no excuse for this, and I don't want to hear it about Christian McCaffrey. I'm completely throwing that out the window.
George Mason is an institution of higher learning, is it not?
Oh, that's it. I knew it. It's George Mason, Sloan Kettering, and Johnny Hopkins.
There you go. Dude, yeah, it's like people who say, look, Christian McCaffrey's awesome and you want him. Like I've always called him the icing on the cake. He's not the cake, he's the icing. Of course you want Christian McCaffrey back. But it's just an oversimplification. Like Christian McCaffrey is not the reason the 49ers have some weird stuff going on right now. Because this is different than even pre-McCaffrey 49ers, right?
Right.
And Jordan Mason's run the ball again. He was 6.4 yards per carry last week. And I know he had the fumble. Yeah. And he hasn't been perfect. And he's not Christian McCaffrey. But that is not the reason the 49ers are not as good in the red zone. You have all of this talent on the football team. If you can't put it in the end zone with all of this talent, I mean, it's like, what are we even doing here? Right. So, and of course it'll, I'm sure Christian McCaffrey, you can just do a little bit more. He's so good, has such great vision. And for not being like a big power back, he's really good in those short yardage situations. But that's for sure not the reason why. Christian McCaffrey alone doesn't change that much on this football team from what they're doing, because they should have won those games. Again, they're one play away from being 4-1 right now. And it wouldn't be that bit different of a football team, but we'd be talking about them a lot different. 2 plays.
100%. We'd be able to explain the flaws, because we'd still be talking about these same things, but we'd say they're still finding ways to win games, which is what good teams do.
Right. And people would be saying, oh, wait, what are you talking about? Why are you hating on the 49ers? They're 4-1. This team's fine. You guys are making too big of a deal about red zone. You guys are making too big of a deal, right? So that's where we'd be right now instead of where we're at.
There's no happy medium, because when everything's going well and you don't have anything to say, oh, you're just a homer, right? But like when you point out things that are objectively, like I literally had someone on Twitter arguing with me, like, oh, they're 1 or 2 plays away from being league average. I was like, no, they aren't. They're 29th. In the NFL, like that 1 or 2 touchdowns isn't going to raise them from 40 to the league average. I'm just like, and they're like, oh, well, if you want to cry into your pillow, I'm like, who's crying into their pillow? I'm telling you about what the hell it looks like.
Hey, analysts going to analyze, man. And that's what we do here. That's why we like talking about this sport. And that's why football is so fun, because it's chaos and there's 22 people on the field and it's just insane. And that being said, I'm sure they're going to fix a lot of the things we're talking about, because they know what the problems are too. It's not like Kyle Shanahan's, well, oh, red zone's perfect, let's go work on this other stuff, right? So they're working on it. They're going to figure it out. And I'm a believer in Nick Bosa and Fred Warner and Diamador Lenore. And I'm a believer in Kyle Shanahan. I'm a believer in Trent Williams. I'm a believer in Deebo and Ayuk and Brock Purdy and George Kittle and Jordan Mason. This team is too good to be giving away games. They should be running away from fools in the fourth quarter, not letting teams come back from 10-point leads.
Funny enough, in Daza's super chat here, look at the Chiefs. Even when they're playing badly, they find a way to win. The Chiefs are right next to the 49ers in terms of red zone inefficiency. And as soon as I say that, they point the camera at Kermit the Frog and his terrible wife. God, just get him off the screen. But they do find ways to win games, and that is fair, right? But a little bit of what I was saying about explosive plays and a little bit more, it's little stuff in the red zone. Whether it's a play call, whether it's execution, sometimes the play call is perfect and somebody gets a finger on the ball and boom, that's it. Or someone, the ball's just out of there. They're this close, right? They're this close to figuring it out. And I think that's why I think the levee breaks on Thursday. And I think everything starts to really hit. And you start to look at this team like, this is what you should have been, but they're on the cusp of it. The fact is, if it took them 5 weeks and you're frustrated with that, I don't blame you. But I feel like when you're talking about trends and we're talking about, oh, they're the worst, there's something in me, and maybe it's just blind optimism that says that the 49ers are probably going to have 4 or 5 red zone trips and they're probably going to convert 4 of them for touchdowns this week.
Hey, can we talk about one positive with the 49ers organizations? And that's the talented wives on this football team, Christian Juszczyk and Olivia Culpa and Claire Kittle and no Brittany Mahomes. And so I think we have to be thankful for that.
Do you want things that you would have never had in your bingo card?
What happened?
Giancarlo Stanton just stole second base straight up.
That's what can happen. That's why we love sports. You think things are going to go a certain way, and then Giancarlo Stanton goes and swipes second base. And you know why he's able to swipe second base? Because people didn't pay attention to him enough. They didn't give him credit that he could swipe that back. So you can't sleep on the teams that you think you're better than in the NFL. You can't try to sneak in that fastball because someone's going to be laying in the weeds and yak it.
The man runs like he has a piano on his back, and he just stole second on the Kansas City Royals. I'm completely flabbergasted.
Giancarlo Stanton, by the way, is a massive human being in real life.
Of course he is.
I mean, he looks big on the baseball field, but baseball players look more normal than other athletes in other sports. Mm-hmm. And I used to work at a bar downtown San Francisco, and it was across the street from the hotel a lot of teams would stay at when they're in town playing. And it was the Marlins version of Giancarlo Stanton were in town. I think it was still post Mike Stanton. He had made the names change to Giancarlo. And you see him, you see everybody get on the bus, and you're like, oh, is that one of the teams? You can't tell. And then I see Giancarlo Stanton. I was like, oh, I thought it was an NBA team. Like, this guy is massive compared to everybody else. You know who else is pretty tall? Steph Curry. I'm 6'4". He's about 6'3". Like, he's really he looks like a tiny baby man on the court. He's a pretty big guy too. That just goes to tell you how big NBA players are. My favorite story. Hold on, I'm hijacking.
No,
this.
go for it.
I'm going to get to. My favorite story from working at that bar was when Adrian Gonzalez just got traded to the Dodgers. Dodgers were in town to play the Giants, and I'm out in front, and I'm with one of my buddies about to start work, and they're having a smoke break or whatever, and Adrian Gonzalez comes walking by himself, and he's like, hey, which direction is the ballpark? I've never stayed at this hotel before. Can you point me towards the park? And I was like, oh shit. In my mind, I'm like, oh shit, it's Adrian Gonzalez. And I'm like, yeah, no problem. You go up here 2 blocks, you make a left. I gave him the directions to Chinatown, which is the opposite direction of the ballpark. I was upset to see a little bit later that he did make it in time and it was in the starting line.
Those damn crafty athletes, man. Hey, I would have done the same thing. Like, if I would have worked at a bar and I don't know what's that guy's name on the Red Sox that, like, whatever, anybody, it doesn't matter, it could be anybody. Oh, how do we get to Yankee Stadium? What you do is you take the train into Midtown and you probably get as close as you can to the World Trade Center. That'll put you right next to the Yankee Stadium. You'll be there in no time. Like, I would never give him the right directions.
I mean, other teams I would help a guy out, but a Dodger comes asking for directions. No, sorry, man.
Nah.
Can't do it.
No. So we touched on run defense, pass defense, red zone, coaching. Let's talk about the real elephant in the room, special teams. And special teams right now, it just shows itself in different ways. Whether it's punt coverages, punt protection. I've seen 49ers teams, close your ears, lose on the back of special teams. On the other side of that, the San Francisco 49ers literally won a playoff game against the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field, in which their offense didn't score a touchdown because the Packers' special teams was worse than theirs. How big of a concern is special teams? Because it feels like a powder keg ready to explode at any moment in any facet.
I feel like it's not that big of a deal until it becomes a big deal, and you realize, gosh, it is kind of that big of a deal. People call it the third phase. I don't think it's a third, but it's certainly a phase and is important. And if say your kicker gets a high ankle sprain and can't kick, that affects your football team quite a bit if you can't put 3 points.
When I said kickers don't matter, I didn't say not have any kicker. I didn't say that. That was not it. That's not it.
I don't know what the replacement level is for a Michael Wright, and I hate that people are already calling him Michael Wide Right. I guess there's some past,
Right?
But that's just, or Matthew, excuse me. Yeah, I don't even know the guy's proper name. Apologies to the Wright family.
Right. He's a kicker, man. It's
when
cool.
you're a kicker and your last name's Wright, you're just going to get the nickname.
We let Chase McLaughlin leave, and he's the franchise kicker in Tampa Bay. We let Joey Sly leave. He's the franchise kicker in Washington, man. We know what we're doing. We got this.
Yeah. I don't know. They couldn't have traded a 3rd round pick for another kicker in the meantime. So yeah, look, it's not nothing. It would seem to be something that Kyle Shanahan doesn't care that much about, and I think that's why they throw resources at it. They're like, well, if you just have the highest drafted punter, the highest drafted kicker, we'll probably be pretty good there, and then we don't have to worry about it. I think that's the way Kyle Shanahan kind of treats special teams. How do you fix it though? Would be my question, because they've already gone through another special teams coordinator. So this is, what's the thing that fixes special? How do you become good at special teams? Because draft picks haven't done it, and changing coordinators hasn't done it. Do you spend more time on it? Do you just have to care about it and have more practice periods covering or kicking, or I don't know what it is. It's a strange phase of NFL football that I'm kind of with Kyle that I don't like spending a lot of time thinking about.
That's the problem is, and it's always something different. If it's not just the punt coverage, it's the punt protection. If it's not the fact that, you missed a field goal or you kick the punt and the punt doesn't hang up high enough, it's always something. And it's not just a Kyle Shanahan problem. The 49ers haven't been good on special teams. I mean, what the last punt return for the 49ers was 2012 by Ted Ginn Sr. The last kickoff return was Richie James, 49ers legend. There's never been an emphasis on it for anybody, really. The problem is I don't know how to fix it, but some of the worst memories I have and some of the best memories I have are tied to special teams. Like I said, the block punt by oh my God, why is his name escaping me right now? Oh my God.
Now you got me too.
Oh no, he should never have to pay for a drink anywhere in the Bay Area. Never. Oh, someone in the chat help us out.
He went to college at Kansas State, right? But I still can't think of his name.
Oh my God, it should be right there. Jordan. No. Yes. Jordan. Something. Oh my God.
Come on, chat. Where you at?
Come on, chat. Help us out. But that block punt literally ended the Packers season. Jordan Willis.
Thank you.
Thank you, Axel, and thank you, Boomer Rat. Jordan Willis, right? That literally ended the Packers season. The 49ers didn't score a touchdown. Then I'm going to say his name because I want to get it out, and I'm not scared. Kyle Williams.
Yeah.
Ray McLeod. These things happen at the wrong times. It has a way of like not being an issue. Like, the 49ers aren't good on special teams, and that they're not like at the top of the league. But God damn it, in the biggest moments, all of a sudden it just pops up. And it's just, if it's a missed kick or a block kick or a fumble or a muff punt or just, I don't know how you fix it, but please just don't let it happen in the worst moments like it usually has been happening.
Trey Junkin.
Thank God for him. See, special teams gaff. Special teams gaff, right? The 49ers don't come. Listen to me. The 49ers don't complete that comeback against the Giants. And I living here where I had to go back to high school the next day and listen to all those Giants fans pop all that, because I wore my Jeff Garcia and my T.O. jersey every single day that entire week. Boy, it was easier to get back and going in the class on Monday because they didn't know how to do anything on special teams. But you see that type of stuff, like that's it.
You probably heard a lot of this that day.
I'll tell you this. My mom wasn't very happy. I think I was a senior the year that that happened. And I walked into my class late. And I just walked in and I didn't sit down and I just raised my Niners jersey and I held it up. And the teacher's like, sit down. I was like, mind your business. I was like, this is personal. And then she was like, go to the office. I was like, I don't care. I don't care. And I was pointing at every single Giants fan. I pointed at all of them. And I was just like, I'll see you later. I was like, we got class later. I was like, I'll see you later. That's the stuff that they don't think about when your team is going up against the hometown team. Like, I can't lose games to the Giants ever, no matter what.
I can't. I just can't.
Giants fans are one of a kind, man.
Oh man, this entire New York scene is crazy too.
You guys
because
get
they're
weird
like
about sports over there.
No, they are. But that's the thing. It's like I'm listening to them, and I'm looking at the people that I'm. It's my Instagram that I really follow a lot of. The people that I'm close with because we all like are from the same area. On Twitter, I'm pretty much locked in with the Niners and Bay Area sports. That's why I know so much about them. But like listening to them, like, oh, we finally got rid of Salah. I was like, oh, Salah's the reason that like you guys are trash. Oh, now you figured it out. Let's get Ulbrich in there. We'll see, man. When Rodgers throws more picks and he looks as bad, you're gonna start calling for his head. I just have a hard time like saying like I think two things can be true. Perhaps Robert Saleh is not a good head coach, but you blaming him for the fact that Aaron Rodgers is cooked is crazy to me because.
And all the other
that on
trash quarterbacks that were put together, you're not going to point your finger at the GM. What about the offensive coordinator who failed everywhere he's been calling plays?
All of these things were forced on Robert Saleh. You think Robert Saleh was like, you know what'll fix us? Nathaniel Hackett, Aaron Rodgers, and Alan Lazard. Let's do it. Like he's not in those conversations.
Well, Robert Saleh was like, Aaron Rodgers? Yes. Looking at, I don't want another season of Tim Boyle or
Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson. I mean, come on.
Or Flacco. Flacco was trash with the Jets, and he's out here throwing seeds for everybody else.
And then losing to Sam Darnold. That was probably Woody Johnson's like, you know what, man?
Oh, that's all Robert Saleh's fault.
And then saying some heads got to roll. Sam Darnold did not just come on in and beat us and go 5-0 now after what we saw with Sam Darnold here before, which was clearly not a solid problem.
Yeah, right. I want Alan Lazard. I want Randall Cobb. I'm like, what the hell is Jordy Nelson and Mercedes Lewis doing? It's just like, dude, like, you can't just have it your way. Like, and you can't tell me that you weren't equipped with anything. Garrett Wilson's a dog. He threw him the ball 23 times against the Minnesota Vikings. That's insane volume,
and missed
right
the
there.
Biggest one. They had the opportunity late on the double move, and they weren't able to connect on it.
And it wasn't his fault again. Yeah. But hey, look, it's a result-driven business. Somebody's head's got to roll, but it can't be that Walmart guy, Nathaniel Hackett. It can't be Aaron Rodgers' fault because you need him so badly. It had to be Robert Saleh, unfortunately, and he just has to like lean on the sword. Poor Robert Saleh. He's about to be fired at home, making $800 per hour. I'd like to leave a job.
That's not a bad gig if you can get it. Yeah, there you go. Call up Greg Jennings in the chat. Put the team on
Greg Jennings. But Greg Jennings put the whole team on his back, like the man thing, the broken leg, and him running. Like Greg, like it's crazy to me that all the decisions that were made personnel wise were over Saleh's head, and Saleh had to roll with it. And then when it didn't work, they said, Saleh, how could you let this happen? And he's like, I wasn't fucking involved.
He was trying to fix it 5 minutes before he got fired because he was trying to change offensive coordinators because that was the obvious problem. Right. And they didn't even let him do that. They fired him.
Oh, that's the last straw. He's like, hey, man, Nathaniel Hackett's not good. They're like, get out.
Oh, man.
All right. Hey, look, we've covered it. So, look, let's put a bow on this real quick. Of the 5 things that I labeled, red zone offense, pass defense, rush defense, special teams, coaching. What's your biggest concern, Brian Peacock?
Well, I'm going to say coaching. It's kind of a cop-out because I think that can fix all of those. It can fix special teams. It can fix run defense. It can fix red zone. What was the other one?
Pass defense, run defense.
Yeah, it can fix everything. It can fix all of those things. It's coaching. And I think they can get there. And I think Nick Sorensen's a smart guy. And look, I'm not going to bury him too quickly, but there's Kyle Shanahan hasn't been the best Kyle Shanahan this year either. If we're being honest.
That's very fair too.
So that can get better. And that can fix it all.
That's very fair because especially in the red zone area, I just feel like it's a mixture of play calling and execution, and the answer is somewhere in the middle, right? Like it's a little bit of each. It's not one or the other. because he'll call the right call, like the one that I think that he called on 4th down in Minnesota. The ball got tipped. It's wide open. It's a tug.
I hated it from the start too, because you allow that edge player, who was it, Van Ginkel, you allow him to not have to worry about the
Because
run,
it's
because you're lining up in shotgun, and he's not going to beat Trent Williams. So he's like, well, I'm going to jump up in there and try to bat it down. And he did. And you know that you're going to have to throw the ball quickly if you're lining up shotgun in the red zone. There's not a lot of space. And so that's, again, coaching. It's a good call because the guy was open. And this is kind of what I've gone back to, because I'm sure he's all not going to call plays better than Kyle Shanahan, right? And the play belongs in the playbook, but there's just times where I'm like, Kyle, what are you doing here? In the 2019 Super Bowl, RPO at the end of the game. And later on, you hear the Chiefs talk about it. Charvarius Ward talked about it. He's like, please stop running the ball. So what do the Chiefs do? They try to give you a look to get you to do what they want you to do, which is throw the ball. And there was an RPO call, the classic George Kittle play, which coincidentally got batted down, right? Good call, good play, belongs in the playbook. Don't call an RPO, call an R. Run the ball. Don't give them a PO, because that's what the defense wants you to do. I think we've seen that a little bit with the Brian Flores defense with the Vikings, and getting Kyle to do, because if there's one flaw, and look, this is kind of a zoomed out version of it, but we saw it with the Cardinals. I think we've seen it with the Chiefs. We've seen it with the Vikings now this year as well. I think the way Kyle runs his offense, it's not like Tom Brady, right? Tom Brady can just make the right call. He gets everybody lined up. He can make the protection call. He can get to the right play and whatever he needs to do to beat the defense that he sees. For the 49ers, you can it. So it's usually a pass and a run, right? So you get up to the line, they show you something. All right, I'm going to can it to the other thing. And the defense is like, good, we showed you what we wanted. Now we know you're going to do the thing that we actually did want you to do, because we showed you the thing we wanted to show you to get you to do the thing we wanted to do. And so I think there's a little bit of that going on with Kyle Shanahan's offense. And if I had one gripe with Kyle Shanahan's offense, it would be that, because it's so Kyle-centric. And maybe Brock Purdy's just the guy to shift it a little bit more onto his shoulders, and he can go further than just canning the play. Maybe he can do the protections, because clearly the way they're calling the protections isn't working. Too many busts in protections. Too many busts. And that can't happen.
Axel, it was the absolute right call. McKinnon read it wrong on that one. And I asked him that at the Super Bowl in Arizona. There's a lot of stupid questions that get asked when you go to those Super Bowl. And literally, I got a chance to talk with Jerick McKinnon. I asked him about that. He literally knew the specific play. And he said that it was his fault that he read it wrong and everything. So again, right play call, wrong execution. But we're not retconning the running joke on this channel with McKinnon from the Wildcat. We're not doing that. Also, by the way, 49ers, if you're looking for depth at running back, Jerick McKinnon is still available as well too.
Is he?
Not a bad idea. Yes, not a bad idea. This is another episode of Peacock and Aponte, man. This is a lot of fun, Brian, man. Thank you so much for taking some time out for me and everything. Brian, tell them everything that you got going on this week. On the short week, tomorrow, it seems like there's going to be full of content because 49ers play football tomorrow.
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun. We've got the Thursday show, which on our network, Locked On Podcast Network, is Crossover Thursday. So we'll be talking with Corbin Smith, the host of Locked On Seahawks, getting to know the enemy a little bit before this game, and that'll be in all your audio feeds Thursday morning. It's going to be up a little bit later tonight on YouTube. And then, of course, after the game, Croc and I going live, breaking down the 49ers as we do after every game. And you can subscribe to Locked On 49ers to get that. You can subscribe to OT with BP, Overtime with Brian Peacock, my extra channel that I do other stuff that's not Locked On related, like doing this with Jason Aponte, which Jason, I love doing with you. It's been fun this week or this season, doing it every week. And also the Peacock and Williamson NFL show daily on the Locked On Podcast Network, myself and former NFL scout Matt Williamson breaking down the entire league. And you can find me at BD Peacock on Twitter. And I think that's all the stuff I want to sell today.
Hell yeah. And again, make sure you guys subscribe to Brian's channel. Obviously, great stuff. And you guys are all subscribed to Locked On. Tomorrow is going to be a busy day. State of the franchise with Brad, who's actually going to be in Seattle. Sprint ride option right before the game. So you're going to get a pre-game sprint ride option, essentially taking you right into kickoff. I'm talking about it. Then instant reaction sprint ride option right after. So make sure you guys are locked in. Locked On 49ers, obviously you guys are on, so subscribe to all of that with Brian, especially his channel. Subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell here. We got a lot of stuff going on this week. There'll be a Niners Nation article up in the morning as well too. Man, these short weeks are tough, but we're going to get football Sunday where we don't have to watch anything other than just our fantasy teams and our bets, right?
That's right. Go Royals.
Oh, God damn it. All right. For that, for Brian, I'm Jason. We're out of here. Peace. Welcome, everybody. Let's go Niners. My name is Jason Aponte.